Good afternoon and welcome to the INQO Investments Limited Interim Results Investor Presentation. Throughout this recording meeting, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged, can be submitted anytime by the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just click Q&A, type in your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question received during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Kim Dan, Chairman. Good afternoon, sir.
Well, hello everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be, whichever time zone you may be in. So thank you for joining this presentation. And my name is Kim Tan, and joining me on this presentation is Robin Steen, who is our Chief Financial Officer.
Greetings, everybody.
So on this first slide, basically it tells you what INQO investment is about. We're a social impact company focusing on the environment, conservation, and rural enterprise development in sub-Saharan Africa. Primarily 3 countries currently: South Africa, Uganda, and in Kenya. So the premise for the company is that we believe that enterprise is a far more effective way of tackling endemic poverty. There will always be a place for charity and aid, particularly in humanitarian crises. But for long-term transformation of communities and countries, we think that enterprise solutions work better. And to that end, we are intentionally investing in businesses that covers social, environmental, as well as for financial returns. And we are intentional about creating jobs in rural and amongst disadvantaged communities. So that's a little background to the company. And these are our key investments, and I will take you briefly through each one of them. So our early investment some 20 years ago was in this project to create a safari game reserve in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. We acquired almost 40,000 acres of degraded farmland, removed tons of metal and fencing, fenced about 75 kilometers of elephant-proof fencing to create and restore the land and rewild the land, and eventually building a 5-star lodge together with a staff village. This is a region that is malaria-free and the poorest province in South Africa. Province itself has about a 70% unemployment rate, and in our district even higher than that. And so the thesis was that in a region as desperately poor with endemic poverty as this, what can a philanthropist do apart from building a school, a clinic, an orphanage, and also all good things to do, and we need to do more of it. We felt that the only way to bring change was to make significant investment into that district, and this is what this project was about. And in the process, not only have we got a lodge that's been open over the last 10 years now, we've engaged with a number of conservation projects. There's been a rewilding project around cheetahs, and we have, I think, over the years now bred and rewild something like 18, 19 cheetahs with new genetics to distribute around the country. And these are some of other species that are there for guests when they come on safari with us. The other project that we have going on the game reserve involves restoring the land. This is a plant called speckboom. It's a small leaf plant that captures carbon that is eaten by goats all the way up to elephants, indigenous to the district. And in the last few years, we've been learning how to grow this shrub more efficiently. And in the last 2 years, in partnership with AfriCarbon, with funding from Reforest Action in France, we've been able to launch a large reforestation program using speckboom. And so in the last 2 years, we've planted 30 million of these cuttings onto 12,000 acres, and in the process have employed some 350 people. I'd like to pause now to sort of run a short video clip to show you the speckboom project.
More than 1 million hectares of South Africa's Eastern Cape has been intensely overgrazed over the past 2 centuries. Extreme overstocking with goats has degraded large parts of the area past the point of natural recovery, turning it from a lush thicket of trees into a desert-like environment. AfriCarbon is restoring this thicket over 5,200 hectares by replanting the foundation of this ecosystem, the speckboom tree. As the speckboom grows, it captures large amounts of carbon, attracts wildlife to the previously barren landscape, and facilitates the establishment of other indigenous plant species. Speckboom also preserves the topsoils, ensuring more water enters the soil and flows into aquifers. Over the course of 2023, AfriCarbon has grown 30 million speckboum plants in a nursery and then planted them out across 5,200 hectares of degraded thicket in Kazuko Private Game Reserve. This operation involved more than 400 workers in the nursery and field and will sequester 2.4 million tons of CO2 over the next 50 years. This is an example of a planting trial done in 2008. This restoration, implemented by AfriCarbon, will generate more than 2.4 million carbon credits using the Vera and CCB methodologies. The exceptional social and biodiversity benefits of the project enabled it to obtain its CCB Gold status. AfriCarbon's goal is to restore hundreds of thousands of hectares of degraded speckboum thicket by 2030. The 5,200 hectares planted at Kazuko Private Game Reserve over the course of 2023 provides proof of concept that such scaling is achievable. We are currently looking for funding partners to join us on our journey to restore vast landscapes of degraded speckboum thicket in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. Please contact us at info@africarbon.co.za for more information.
Well, hi everyone again. That was a project that was completed towards the tail end of last year, and we're just looking forward to more areas that can be suitable for planting with the speckboum. And it's all been pre-financed by Carbon Trade. Alongside the Kazuko Game Reserve, we support a foundation. We were aware very early on that a lot of our children in South Africa have never seen game in the wild. They've seen game in books and on television, but have never seen game in the wild because these reserves are still the preserve of those who can afford to go to them. So we fence about 1,500 acres just outside of the reserve to create an educational park, with the idea of bringing children on day trips, on day outings, to learn about conservation, to have an experience with game. And whilst the lodge contributes to it, we also encourage guests who have enjoyed an experience with us to also donate to the foundation. So here you see some of these kids who come for the day outing, and they get fed as well, of course. And we have a building there that has stuffed animals and dung and bones and skulls, and this is how we encourage and teach the children about the conservation. And also on the park itself, there are 400-500-year-old cave paintings. This is all part of the heritage of these young people, and we want to educate them about their heritage. Moving on, this is the Conservation of Rural Enterprise, which we call CARE, our CARE project in Uganda. We've taken learnings from South Africa now to Uganda. And here is a forest, 800 square kilometer forest, which is home to 600 chimpanzees, but that is experiencing deforestation. And the reason that the deforestation is happening here is because of poverty, because the community surrounding this forest are poor and they have to chop trees to sell charcoal in order to put food on the table. We are currently taking a holistic view to say the only way to solve this problem and protect the forest and the wildlife is to create real jobs into the community. And to that end, we are investing in these 3 businesses, a luxury lodge in the forest itself, and then 2 more factories, light industrial factories, into the community with a target of creating something like 150 jobs. And that the question then is, if we did create these number of jobs over the next 3 to 5 years, will we see transformation? Will we provide an alternative livelihood so that they don't have to chop trees and set traps for wildlife? This project is in partnership with Belmont University, who are doing the socioeconomic survey for us, and Surrey University, who are doing the satellite imaging of the forest for us. And it's been funded by TRT, the Templeton Religion Trust. So this is a grant that has come from TRT. And this slide just very quickly shows what the kind of environment we are working in. So the average family in South Africa is about 5, but in the Budungo area where we're working, it's average number of 6 members per family. 77% are headed by fathers, 23% of these households headed by mothers. Over 50% of these families still live in mud houses. 77% of them have some kind of primary education. But what is really concerning is the average income of these families are only about $300 per year. So we're talking about real poverty, and the question then is, if we did create these kinds of jobs, will we see change happening over a number of years? This is where we're at. Currently, the top panel shows you the lodge. This is a photo from last month, and we expect to be open with at least 8 of these luxury tents around April, May of next year. So that's where we are at. And then the left bottom panel shows you the 5.5 acres of land that we've acquired and now cleared and leveled to turn into a light industrial park. And the middle panel shows you the one of the ventures that will be locating on this industrial park. It's a business called Flybox. And what they do is they use the black soldier fly to produce larvae. And these larvae will feed on waste and convert waste into organic fertilizer, and the larva can then also be used as a protein substitute in animal feed. So they're just dropping 5 containers for us in the next couple of weeks on site. And then the other factory is one that will make biomass pellets for cooking fuel. So we have lots of biomass in the area, from sugarcane, from coffee, and all these biomass can be used to make pellets for cooking fuel that are more efficient and are cheaper than charcoal. So these will be the 2 initial factories that will be up and running in December, January. Turning now to our other investments, this is Kentegra, which is a company based in Kenya. And what Kentegra does is that it works with about 20,000 or so outgrowers to grow a chrysanthemum flower, which can be harvested every 2 weeks. And the farmers dry them and they bring them to a meeting point where they are weighed and are paid by mobile money. And the flowers are then brought into these 2 factories to extract pyrethrum. Pyrethrum is the organic insecticide that's used in our mosquito sprays and our mosquito coils and so on. So this is a significant business for the country of Kenya, and now has 2 factories with more and more people growing pyrethrum. Synergy or Regen Organics is also based in Kenya. This is a business tackling the problem of sanitation in the slums. This is in Kibera slum, which is one of the largest slums that we have in Africa, sadly. And this is a franchise toilet model. It's franchised to largely these women. People pay to use, and currently there are about 5,000 of these toilets, serving over 270,000 people daily. And so there's some income for these entrepreneurs, but in terms of the business, just that income alone is just insufficient to make it profitable. So the only way to make it profitable is to take the waste away daily, to process into 2 products. One is the black soldier fly protein. So that's the image there of the factory that is there in Kenya that will process the waste into insect protein that can then be dried, harvested and dried, the larvae, and bagged and then sold as a protein substitute for animal feed. And then the waste product is organic fertilizer, which can then also be sold. The third and final investment that we have is in a business called South Lake Medical Center, also based in Kenya, but it's in the middle of Kenya on the south side of Lake Naivasha. This hospital is a cottage hospital, serves about 50,000 flower farm workers in around the lake. And in the last few years, together with co-investments, we've been able to build a minor surgical unit initially, and now have built a major surgical unit into that cottage hospital, so that we can now have full major surgical procedures. In the last year or so, we've seen almost 95 or so thousand patient visits. And what for me is particularly pleasing is in the last year or so, we've been able to screen over 20,000 women for cervical cancers. And out of that, have been able to provide vaccination for over 700 of these young girls. HPV is a very, very important preventative measure to prevent cervical cancers in these women. So that's been a great thing to be able to have done in the last year or so. And now I'll turn over to Robin to say a little about the financials.
Thank you, Kim. So Kim gets to speak about the exciting projects that we do, and but for INQO to deliver and to do what it wants to do, the businesses need to be sustainable and we need to be sustainable. So we do need to look at profitability. What I did want to bring up was just our history since 2019. Kuzuko Lodge forms part about 80% of our revenue. And you can see, if you look at the revenue line, that the hospitality industry was heavily hit by COVID, and our revenues just dropped in 2021 and 2022. But I'm pleased to present and to say that we've turned that corner and we are excited about our future, and we can see the change and our revenues are picking up steadily. I do want to point out that the hospitality industry is seasonal, and our first 6 months are part of our low season. So when we report our interim results, they are lower than we expect our year-end results to be. If I compare 2024 to our interim results for August 24, and we look to our final results and our forecasts, what was significant in 2024 was that Kuzuko has since its inception been run by a hotel management company, and toward the end of last calendar year, Kuzuko left and has been independent since then, and has been flourishing in its independence and managing its own marketing and sending its a very personal message to the market, and we're seeing the benefit of that. So I'm going to move across to our financial position. Our biggest asset is our property, and really this is the building, the Kuzuko building and the reserve, and we revalue this every 2 years by an independent valuator. So this is the fair value of the property. Our investments are split. You will see that our investments have grown significantly to the interim result. The increase is in the care projects, which those joint ventures have taken off this year. And so the 7 million difference there is our share investment into those 3 JVs that Kim spoke about, and the shareholder funding that we've put through so that those investments can be operationalized and go ahead. What I'd like to point out too is our cash reserves. We have increased our cash reserves in the current year twofold. One is we issued additional shares this year, which we managed to get 29 million rands through that additional share issue. Part of it was through a conversion of a loan note, and you'll see the drop in the conversion loan note in the credit loan notes under our liabilities. Our care project, we receive funding through the Belmont University, and this is also to show that we have, under the unutilized grant funding, we have 40 million rand available to spend on those projects. So not only for the 3 projects that we have initiated, but for additional projects. And the idea is that we will use our shareholder funding to start these businesses, and as these businesses take off and the capital returns to us, we can then reinvest in additional funding going forward. We're very positive about our future and these investments in Uganda and our South African investments. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And this is just a summary slide of all the environmental and social metrics that we've been achieved over the last 10 or so years. And hopefully with the CARE project coming on stream in Uganda, we'll see 3 new businesses with 3 new revenue streams coming the coming year, as well as further environmental and social impact. And the final slide is really a little about the information on the company. Company is listed on the Aquis stock exchange, and those are the details. Code is INQO. To our knowledge, currently there's only one online trading platform to trade the shares, and it's AJ Bell with the link there. You can buy shares and trade shares through brokers, but currently probably only over the phone. So AJ Bell, to our knowledge, is the only online trading platform currently for the shares. And our corporate advisor and broker is Dr. Wang Chong at Hobart Capital Markets. So thank you for joining us and for your interest in this interesting journey that we're on to tackle both environmental and social issues in a scalable and profitable way. Thank you.
Fantastic. Kim, Robin, thank you indeed for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, do please continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just while the team take a few moments to review those questions submitted today, I'd like to remind you the recording of the presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Kim, I think perhaps just returning back to you, as you can see, we had a number of questions, both pre-submitted and throughout today's presentation, and thank you to all the investors for submitting those. If I may just ask you to click on that Q&A tab, and where appropriate to do so, read out the question or direct it to Robin, and I'll pick up from you at the end.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for submitting the questions. The first question is, what does the name INQO mean? Well, it's Old Xhosa, meaning rhino or rhinoceros, and we've actually butchered the name because the Xhosa language has a click, and I just can't do it. So it should be INQO. So that's what it means. Which other forests do you have in mind for future expansion? I think that the next one that we're looking at is probably down also in Uganda, but in Bundi, where there are 400 gorillas left in that forest. And again, with unsustainable deforestation. So that may be the next kind of area to take this kind of care project to build a lodge into the forest and then build industries into the village. Why only AJ Bell? I think we've answered that. I think to our knowledge, AJ Bell is the only broker currently that you can do online trading. Everybody else, you got to phone up and give instructions. Here's a question. How there's a lot of moving parts in the business. Can you give a sense of the revenue and profit opportunities and management in each business? And do you own all the lodges? I think the answer is yes, we do own the lodges. And in terms of opportunities, there are only a few places in Africa where you can go and see chimpanzees and gorillas. So there's a huge demand for that kind of tourism, and so we expect to see a significant uptake in revenue once the lodge in Uganda comes on stream. There's a question here. When do you expect to be profitable and pay a dividend? I think we have discussed dividend policies at board level recently, and we intend to be a dividend paying company. So, and we would like to do it sooner rather than later, depending on our cash position. Someone has asked here a question. I'm new to this. How can I start the journey? I think start the journey by coming on a safari visit to Kuzuko. That would be a good place to start. And furthermore, maybe join us in becoming a shareholder and come on this journey with us. And that may be a good way to start on this journey. How do you see the business scaling? Will you look to replicate across other regions? And what are limiting factors to expansion? I think we've mentioned that. So we are looking really at other vulnerable forests and seeing whether we can take this holistic approach to tackle both the environmental as well as the social needs of these forests. So definitely we would like to scale. What are the limiting factors? Probably capital and people. We always need good people on the ground. There's a question here. What specific strategies are you implementing to further grow revenues beyond seasonal tourism fluctuations? I think we are diversifying the revenue stream. So I think our experience is that tourism alone, just running a lodge, doesn't create that many jobs. Certainly not enough jobs unless it's at a really large scale to really impact the community. So we need to diversify the revenue streams and also diversify the job opportunities for the people in the community. Will you move on to AIM? I think the answer is probably not in our thinking at the moment. I think we'll continue staying on the Aquis exchange for a while, but we need to be much larger than where we are before we can consider going on AIM or maybe onto one of the European exchanges. How does INQO own 100% of these projects or minority interest? Some are minority, but we tend to, with the lodges, tend either to be joint ventures where we have around a 50% stake so that we can then consolidate it into our accounts. But where we are investing in other businesses, we tend to be in the minority. I don't see any further questions.
You've covered off every question we've
Yes.
had through, Kim. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you to all the investors for those questions. And of course, any further questions that we do get through, the team will be able to review those and we'll publish responses where appropriate to do so on the Investor Meet Company platform. Kim, perhaps before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is going to be particularly important to you and the team, could I just ask you for a few closing comments, please?
Yeah, so again, to thank everybody for participating and joining this webinar and for your interest. We are really very intentional about what we are wanting to do to apply investments that can tackle both social and environmental issues. I think that the message that what we learn is that the environment isn't the problem. Humans are the problem. And unless we solve the human problem, we'll never be able to solve the environmental problem. And unless we provide alternative livelihoods to people in the community surrounding these vulnerable forests, we shouldn't stand in judgment. and we should really think about how we can provide these kinds of alternative livelihoods for the people. And then maybe one final thing, you know, buying shares in this company is not going to make you rich. You know, this is not for people who want to sort of grow rich on their investments, but this is for people who want to see if they can use some of their capital to effect change, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa with us. So thank you again for joining us.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Kim, Robin, for updating
Thank
investors
you.
today. Could I please ask investors not to close the session? It should be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I know will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of INQO Investments Limited, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good afternoon to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.